What's going on? Welcome. The plan for today is to make a small modification to the Shendrones Thicc to run the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K off of the flight battery rather than the internal battery of the camera. So this camera has a big old, it's because it's not that big, this kind of battery here inside that is a bunch of dead weight. We don't need that. So we can replace it with a couple pieces of technology to make sure that we can still power the camera, but without the extra weight of a battery. So let's get to it. Now I've got what we should need in these two packages. So first off, this is a extra power cable for the Pocket Cinema, but it's just to a DC end. So on one end you've got the connection that goes into the camera right here somehow. And then on this end, it's just DC 12 volt. So we have to modify this cable to connect to the drone so that we can get 12 volt out. But we don't have a big enough 12 volt regulator on this thing already. So I bought a couple specific ones for doing this kind of high power output. These are recommended to me by the guys at Catalyst Machine Works. They use it's the exact same one for powering their red Epic X on the money shot. It's what's built into their machine, and this is the little device that does it. It's a giant, super high power, variable output voltage regulator. Boom. It's kind of big, but it's going to give a really good, consistent output voltage to our Blackmagic Pocket Cinema via all this wiring. So what I think I'm going to do is wire this straight into the drone and then wire up output to like an XT30 and then put an XT30 on this end so you can choose whether or not you're going to use it or not. That way we're saving a little bit of pain down the road where like this cable wouldn't be dangling out of the camera at times when you're not actually using it. So let's get to work wiring this thing up and we'll get it all done. Also in the box we've got some bullet connectors and some instructions. Actually, these might come in handy, so we'll set that all aside and get to work. Okay, the first thing we're gonna have to do is disassemble everything, take off all the props, take off the camera mount and the top plate so we can get access to the electronics inside. Alright, we got the top plate off, so now we can wire in our voltage regulator. It's just going to end up sitting right there. Let's go ahead and prep this first. So I really only need one of these outputs, so I'm going to trim them back. And then I don't need this much of this output. It really only has to fit like through the top plate, so we'll go to there. Strip this back. And now we're ready for our XT60. Okay, now the next thing is to put the XT60 on.
Then it's just a simple matter of tinning the wires and sticking that XT30 on there.
Okay, that's ready. And then we gotta put the opposing XT60 on the camera end. Which if you think about it being mounted high enough, we don't really need that long of a cable either. So it's not going to need to be more than yay long. So we'll just cut this bad boy open. Hopefully they're color coded inside.
Typically with the cable like this, it has a black outer shielding and then there's two wires on the inside. One's red, one's black. Sometimes you don't have the two options in there, so you have to use a multimeter to test it and make sure that you have the exact right polarity before you plug it into the camera and potentially damage something. Luckily in this case it did have a black and red wire, so it's pretty easy to figure out.
And then strip back these ones.
Then just follow along like we did with the XT30 application, strip the wires back, tin the wires, and then put the other end of the XT30 on.
And tin those bad boys up.
to insulate the XT30 against accidentally potentially shorting on itself because those two leads are so close to each other, I just take a little bit of electrical tape, wrap it around one of the poles, and then wrap it around the whole wire. So there's an insulation between the two, and then there's an insulation against anything potentially getting in and shorting that whole XT30 out. I do this on both ends. Okay, so now we have two cables with XT30s on them that plug in direct, just like that. And then on one end we've got this Beck that has 12 volt output, and then on this end we have the camera. So we can take this, wire this straight into the PDB of the drone, and out of this we'll get 12 volt power for the camera. So we're not going to need much extra wire. I'm probably literally just going to tape it in there or zip tie it, maybe like this, maybe out the back like that. Yeah. So we just need to run the wire down to here. So nothing amazing, nothing super pretty, but it'll get the job done. Tin them up and then wire it in. Okay, now if we power up the drone, we should be getting 12 volt out of this guy, so let's test that out. In a circumstance like this, it's really important to make sure that you test the voltage, test the polarity, make sure that you don't fry your super expensive camera. So I'll plug into the drone here. Actually, we don't know what voltage we're going to get because this is programmable. You can change the voltage that's coming out of this thing. I gotta find my multimeter. If I test the battery voltage of the drone here, you get 23.2 volts. If I test the Beck directly, very carefully because it's kind of a pain. Shorting it out. We get 11.97 volts. So that's pretty much perfect for what the camera needs, which is 12 volt direct. You can see here on the camera body that it says 12 volt input right there. Okay, to keep the mounting simple, I'm literally just using some folded over double-sided tape. Laying it in the drone like that. All nice and out of the way. Easy peasy. Now we can put the top plate back on. The process that you might follow to do this for any kind of camera that you use is the same. It's get a Beck, make sure it's the right voltage, wire it into the PDB, and create a process to connect your camera. Okay, now we're ready to strap the camera back on, which is always fun. I'm going to run this cable back in through the top plate so that it's kind of nice and secure in there. Plug in the camera, and then plug in the power. Oh, look at that. It is so cool. Might just get that held in with the strap just to make sure everything stays in its place. Plenty of flex as we need it. That is fire. Alright, moment of truth. Hopefully this camera does not blow up. And then power it on. Maybe. Should be coming on right there. Oh, something is smoking. Right there. What's going on? Yo, dude, those wires right there just melted. These ones right here. Why? That is not good. That is very not good. Hopefully this camera's okay. I think the camera's fine. I don't think the voltage made it to the camera ever. Dude, if I just fried this thing. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. Why did that happen? Okay, I'm putting the battery back in, powering it on. Come on, baby. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so this is good. Oh, okay, what's wrong with the back? Whew. That was horrifying. Okay, what's going on here? Still getting 12 volt, okay. Make sure we got this one right. Yep, that looks good. Okay, we're gonna plug it in. So far so good. Pull the battery out. And we're gonna plug in the camera. Still good. Turning it on. And it's on. AC power. So I guess something must have shorted out in there. That's really nerve-wracking. So we'll just go back through and clean up those wires real good. Yikes! Okay, I decided to just go ahead and redo this piece anyway. I wasn't really happy with how it was looking. So you can see these are the outputs here that are up on the top. The inside is positive, the outside is negative. So I've got this XT30 wired up
to match that. And then the power input is here on this end. That's what's going to wire back to the drone. And then there's a big old heat sink piece that came on it. That's got to go there. Now this whole thing is going to go back in the drone. I'll just give it a little tape action to keep it back in place, and then should be good to go. This is the wire that these come with is like this is the PVC wire, so it's just really kind of brittle and it melts and it's just not great. So I replaced it with some nice silicone wire, and that's going to be much more reliable, I think, in the long term. Okay, we finally gotten this buttoned all up. It's looking really good. I've left the camera running for a couple minutes just to make sure that it wasn't going to overheat or shut off randomly, but things look good. Connections are all nice and secure. Really happy with it so far. So next up, we're going to fly it. I've got it set to Ultra 4K Black Magic B-RAW mode, so we should get some pretty sweet footage out of it right now. And something that I should clarify, I meant to clarify at the beginning, was that this project works for any camera. This will work for a GoPro. I think you can run that off of USB anyway. It'll work for, you know, a Red, a Komodo, whatever. Like whatever camera you're running on your drone, this same process will apply. And you'll be able to run them off of power without having the battery. The KDE back that I put inside of this drone is capable of doing 12, 5, 8, and they sell versions that go higher. So whatever the needs are of your specific camera, they've got an option for you that's going to be super high quality and very reliable.
And no, this video was not sponsored by KDE. Every time I put the props on this drone, I want to make sure that the props are all spinning the right way, because like if one is backwards or something is wrong, it's going to make a mistake, and then this thing just toppling over on top of the camera would really suck. So just double check every time I fly. At this point, I'm just watching the drone, making sure that the camera's staying powered on, that it's flying right, and just prepping it to actually do some FPV flying. I like to do a little bit of line of sight, just make sure everything is perfect before I really set it.
He's definitely sounded better. I don't know what that's about. Alright, we're rolling.
For this video, I went ahead and flew the drone for 2 different flights. The first one I'll leave raw. The second one I'm going to color grade and do a little bit of post work for you. Everyone always asks me, how are your neighbors so cool with you flying around like this? And to be honest, I have no idea. Like, the neighbors that are immediately next to me are super cool. They love it. They watch it on TV, like the guys right underneath this house. Totally fine with it. And, you know, I'm respectful when I fly. I don't, like, you know, fly for hours on end or anything like that. But, yeah, I've never had a problem flying around my house or anything like that. And everybody's been really generous about letting me kind of bring my work home with me, I guess. So thanks to all my neighbors. If anybody does happen to watch this, I don't know. But yeah, it's always been cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of oscillation that I don't know what that is, but I'll have to go figure it out because that's not good. But, you know, otherwise it's flying great. Let's see if we're still recording. Yep. All right. Yeah, cut that because this burns so much of my card. So now it's recorded and saved. It's all powered off of this. There's literally no battery plugged in. Yep, no battery in there.
gone. God, this thing's heavy.
Yeah, there's some sort of weird oscillation, like the motors are even a little bit warm, so I gotta figure out what that's about. So ignore that part of the footage, that's my negligence. Oh, started recording again. So yeah, so we'll get this back on, we'll get it back on the computer, take a look at the footage, although it's kind of a wash because it really wasn't working very well. But hey, at least it works.